Hello, welcome back to my haunted library. It's Regina. Hope you're doing well. I am doing great because the weather here has been so beautiful. It's been like the perfect crisp fall weather. The leaves are starting to turn a little bit. We do have a lot of green still, but it's starting and I love it. Joe and I snuck away last weekend with the pups for a nice weekend getaway down the shore, and the weather was divine. I even waded in the water a little bit because the water was still kind of warm. Didn't swim because the surf was rough, and I don't do that anymore. I'm not as daring as I used to be, but we did watch the surfers, and just we had a beautiful oceanfront room. Really had a great time, and the pups really enjoyed it too because they're allowed off season to roam on the beach, and they just absolutely love it. So yeah, it was great. And my only regret was that we couldn't stay longer because we had not had a vacation of any sort all summer because of everything that was going on. So I feel alive again, which really feels nice. So today I have kind of a mixed bag of things to share with you. I hope your October season is, and spooky season rather, is going great. I can't believe the month is almost halfway over. It's crazy. So today's going to be a little bit just of a laid back kind of day. Although I wanted to start with a giveaway before I forget. My new collection, Halloween Haunts, has been out and it is available in paperback. It's not long. It's 5 short stories and a novella. I was thrilled to see that this is still listed as the #1 new release for, I think it's teen and young adult ghost stories. It's been holding strong for a week. I couldn't be happier. I think it might have something to do with this pumpkin jack-o'-lantern cover. 99 cents for the month of October. Everything's 99 cents. So I've been selling a lot of these and I'm thrilled. So I'm happy it's doing well. And I'm going to be giving away 2 copies and 2 bookworms. So together. So 2 lucky winners will be receiving a Halloween Haunts signed by yours truly and an issue of the new bookworms. This is also selling like hotcakes, which I think might have something to do with the fact that we have Grady Hendrix and Clay McLeod Chapman featured in this issue, plus some other amazing authors and artwork and all kinds of fun stuff. So this bookworms is doing really well, and I couldn't be happier. The sweet smell of success is something I always want to share with people who watch my channel. So I'm doing a giveaway. So all you have to do to enter, and it could be USA or abroad, because I'm broad-minded, just write giveaway in the comments below, somewhere below, and I will enter you in the competition, and it will be, I'm going to do the drawing in a week, so you have it in time for Halloween. Anyway, I said competition, I meant sweepstakes. Where did that word come from, sweepstakes? It's so strange. Okay, anyway, you can tell I'm in a good mood, so I'm sharing the love. Oh, I did a podcast with Merce from Harpies in the Trees the other day. I had to do it in my living room, so my tech was a little bit maybe off because I still don't have Wi-Fi in my library, which is in a warehouse. You might not see it, but it is. It's my set. It's actually a real library. I do hang out here and read. It's a studio. I've got an large space, creative space that I do all kinds of things in, but I don't have Wi-Fi yet. So maybe for Christmas, maybe if I sell more books, I'll be able to afford it. Or you could support the library by becoming a patron, and then I will be able to afford Wi-Fi. Just saying. It'll all be linked below. What else? Anyway, she and I had a really nice conversation. I consider her a friend. She's a doll, and I'm happy to see her back in her element making videos again. I hope I did okay, but it should be up soon. If it is by the time I put this together, I'll link it below, or else just check her page, check my community page, because I will list it there as well. So I did say on my last video that I was going to discuss Salem's Lot a little more, but honestly, I've moved on from Salem's Lot. So I didn't really finish talking about the ending of the book, but I did cover most of it. Great read. I was happy to see so many people like Alex, the Bookubus, read it. Some other people who were doing Vamptember. I did watch the new Cinemax movie of Salem's Lot, the new adaptation, and I'm going to link Grumpy Andrew his review. He's always so good at reviewing films. He's one of the best on YouTube, in my opinion. Definitely check it out. He did such a good review. He really said everything that I felt about the film. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't enough. It would have been so much better as a mini-series, a limited series, because then it could have gotten way into all the characters and everything that was happening in the town. This version, it skims the surface, that although there were some really cool things about it, there was this cool scene in a drive-in movie that I really liked. It has nothing to do with the book, but I thought it was well done. But Grumpy Andrew's take on this is really right on the money. So I would suggest you take a look at that. And maybe we should just leave it at the David Soul version, which is still so good. I watched that, like I said, recently again. It still scared me. This new one did not scare me at all. I think a big problem with the new one is the Ben Mears character, the one that David Soul plays so soulfully in the 1970s, is that his character is such a wuss in the new one. In the old one, now maybe this is just the changing times, and as you know, I'm stuck in 1979. Ben Mears is supposed to be kind of like a macho type of guy. He's written that way in the book too. And Susan is a traditional hometown kind of the prettiest girl in town, but still a very traditional kind of feminine creature, which makes their attraction really believable and tender and tragic because of what happens. In this one, I felt like Susan and Ben Mears were kind of like buddies, like friends with benefits. It didn't really have the sweetness, the passion that's in the story, where maybe they start out fooling around, but they definitely fall in love. I didn't feel that in this story. Not saying the actors weren't good or anything, but it was a different interpretation. I did like the Mark character in the new one. I wanted to see more of him. I thought he did a good job playing the role, but it just wasn't enough. So that was that. But let me know in the comments below if you watched it, what your thoughts were. I would enjoy hearing what you have to say. So as we're moving into Halloween, I decided to do a TBR for Halloween season, which is something I haven't done before. I'm already on it. I know we're weeks into October, but I'm like, you know what? I'm in the mood to read, even though it's Halloween season, I'm not really in the mood to read really scary stories. I'm in the mood to read Gothic stories and romantic Gothic. And I think Salem's Lot kind of got me in the mood for that. So I am going to show you what I came up with on my TBR. I haven't done a TBR for a long time. Oh, I did want to mention, I did read a book when I was down the shore. I read the expose book about the Kennedys. It's called I think it's called The Kennedy Men and the Women They Destroyed. It's a very provocative title by Maureen Callahan. And I read that, I devoured it in 2 days, but that book kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. I have to say, it was very depressing. I'm not saying that these stories aren't true. I had no doubt that they were true. And I knew quite a few of these stories about, of course, like Ted Kennedy with the Chappaquiddick and all these different scandals. John Kennedy Jr.'s tragic plane crash. I knew all about that. I used to see John Kennedy when I lived in New York. He was really a fixture, and the book talks about that. We'd see him on the streets all the time. And, I used to walk or jog every day in Central Park because I lived in Midtown Manhattan. And I remember hanging out with one of my girlfriends, and we were we had taken a long walk or jog or something, and we were just hanging out on the swing set, as you do after a long jog. And he came jogging up, like in front of us, very close to us actually, no shirt, and he was gorgeous. Let me just say that. He was the sexiest man alive. He was one of the best looking men on the planet. He was better looking and just built than most movie stars. Like, he was definitely more my type than like a Brad Pitt, just saying. I like the, the dark, tall, dark, and handsome type. But he came jogging up, very short shorts, no shirt, and just like dropped and started doing like one-arm push-ups. My friend and I were like our tongues must have been on the floor. I mean, it was just... I won't even tell you what we had to say on that walk home. Just saying. Anyway, but I remember my same friend also waited on him. She was working in a restaurant. She's like, oh my gosh, I won't believe you came in. So yeah, so I was familiar with him very much. So he was a big celebrity in the 90s when I lived in New York. And as was Donald Trump, I have to say. I saw him too. I had a Trump sighting at Woolman Rink one night. He was very tall. I did not quite have the same reaction to seeing him as JFK Jr., just saying. But yeah, so living in New York, I would see famous people. That was part of the thrill of living in New York. I'm sure it still happens. But anyway, so I read the book, and it just was such a downer. You know, by the time I got to the plane crash and all these other horrible stories, I was like, you know, I love reading books like Hollywood Babylon because of the bitchy tone. This didn't really have that fun bitchy tone that was just like sad, really sad. So I ended up selling that book on eBay, which is what I've been doing. I'm starting to sell books that I either read and then just say, okay, I'm not going to read this again, or read and don't like and just move them on. Okay, so I did read that. And I also read, as part of my TBR, I'm working with kind of a theme that I'm going to show you here, because I noticed that not only are my books that I chose thematic in the Gothic style, but they also look a lot alike. Like they're all kind of in the same color scheme, which I think is cool. Shades of blue and gold, which I didn't plan. Okay, so I'm continuing my V.C. Andrews journey and continuing the Dollanganger series. I think the only one I think I haven't read yet is Secret Brother, but I have it. I just haven't read it, or maybe I haven't, I've forgotten. Anyway, I'll look in to see if I've read it yet. They kind of all resemble each other. I wasn't really that thrilled about the Christopher's Diary ones, because Christopher, in my opinion, is the most boring character in that series, so I'm not interested in his diary. It wasn't very good, but these are pretty good. This one is called The Shadows of Foxworth. It all ties into the Twisted Family Tree. I finished this morning. I loved it. I mean, is it silly and a little fluffy? Yes, but that's just what I wanted to read. Yeah, I liked it. I will definitely keep reading them. I'll read the next one. Kind of into it. All right, next is, this is from my collection of Gothic romance books that I haven't read yet. This is called House of Doom, House of Desire by, I need my glasses. I got new reading glasses. They're okay. I feel a little nerdy in these. Sharon Wagner. Beautiful cover. See what I mean about the color scheme? This is next on my reading TBR. Oh, and here's another V.C. Andrews. I'm starting this new series. Next in line is the Hudson series. This one is called Rain. This is the first in the Hudson series. We finally have a main character of color. It's about time, don't you think? We've had some characters, but this is the one that is the main character. And I'm looking forward to reading it. This is a book that Patrick sent me last week, very generously, and I just had to read it just from the cover. This is called Theme Music by T. Marie Vandelli. We've got our blue. Not sure what it is about, but it looks cool and Gothic. This is one that's been on my shelf for a long time, and I know I'm going to love it because I've loved all the other books of hers I've read. This is called Craven Manor by Darcy Coates. And here is a classic that's been on my shelf forever, and I've never read it. And again, we have our blue and kind of gold. This is The Haunted Hotel by Grundy Commons. And then this one I better finish because it's a library book that's due back today. And the last time I went to the library, I owed $20. I couldn't believe it. It's terrible. But this is a Marvel comic of Dracula. I'll finish it today. It's really good so far. I'd like to find a copy of this for my collection. So I'm working in some Dracula, which of course is very Gothic. Okay, I guess the last thing I want to share today, I think I talked about everything I wanted to talk about, is I had a little book haul from the used bookstore yesterday. And what's nice about this used bookstore is the prices are mostly based on the the original price. So if you have an old book that's really cheap, you get it for that price or even like half of that price. So I lucked out and found a whole bunch of Gothic romances in the wild because I just don't find them that often. And I didn't have any of these. So here we go. This is called The Secret of Mirror House by Jennifer Blake. This one, it looks cool. Dragonwick by Anya Seaton. I think E.D. Lewis might have done a review of Dragonwick. It sounds really familiar. Then I have a few that I really love these covers. I have a few of these, and they're later, like where most of the Gothic romances I collect are from like the 60s and 70s. These are like 80s and 90s, but the covers are still fabulous. The Emerald Tears of Foxfire Manor by Clara Wimberly. Here's another Clara Wimberly. The Ghostly Screams of Stormhaven. The titles are very cool too. Look at that. Don't you want to be that girl? I do. I'll take those ghostly screams just to have that look. Lady of the Mists by Clara Wimberly. Very cool. And then Crystal Shadows by Michelle Y. Thomas. This I was excited to get. It is a ARC copy, uncorrected proof of Ghost Eaters by Clay McLeod Chapman. So maybe next time I meet him, I could get him to sign this. I have not read any of his books yet, even though he was kind enough to send a story to Bookworms. I'm really looking forward to reading this. Very cool. And then lastly, this is a bit of a find. I wish it were in better condition, but I found a box set of Stephen King from like the 80s. This is the Signet Gift Pack, 2 mesmerizing novels of terror and a spellbinding fantasy adventure. So we have It, Misery, and The Eye of the Dragon in one package. Now I went on eBay and mint copies of these are selling for a lot of money. This isn't mint. Let me know if you are familiar with this. I did do a video on my Stephen King collection years ago, which I probably should update at some point because I've added a lot to my Stephen King collection. Every time I see old Stephen King paperbacks, I buy them, like in the wild. I did get the, I found the rare Firestarter in just a thrift store for like $1. I do have some good, I'm going to put this in later because I don't want to mess it up. I do have some really quality early editions. I have the first edition of The Stand. I have some other really good first editions of the early ones. I don't have the great, really valuable ones like the $20,000 Salem's Lot or the first edition of Carrie or any of those. But I'm always looking out for them. And I always, and this is just a little trick, even if you find newer Stephen King books that were, had mass printing, always check if it's in a thrift store or a used bookstore to see if it was signed, because then it's really valuable. Or else you just want to read Stephen King and enjoy it, which I did with Salem's Lot. I read an old beat-up paperback version of that, and I felt the vibes coming through the book. Anyway, I hope you're having a wonderful October so far. Let me know in the comments below if you're going to enter the giveaway. Remember, write giveaway. Consider becoming a patron of my library. It really helps. Maybe then I'll get Wi-Fi and maybe then I'll do some lives, which would be kind of cool. I've never done those before. And let me know what you've been reading, what you're doing for October. I would love to hear your thoughts. So that's all I have for today. Thanks for stopping by my haunted library, and I'll see you soon. Bye!